Phil Gordon, the poker pro, TV commentator, and also very popular poker author, stated in his books that the greatest poker players in the world share 5 qualities. So I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about these qualities with you because these are qualities that you should not only understand, but you should also strive towards attaining them as well if you want to be a great poker player. So let's take a look at what he said. So the different qualities are, we'll start with these 3 on this slide. Aggressiveness, patience, and courageous are the first 3. So great poker players are aggressive. Aggressive poker is winning poker. And then on the flip side, passive poker is losing poker. Now we'll talk about why this is, so I'm not going to get into too much details right now. Just understand that aggressive poker is winning poker, whereas passive style playing poker is essentially very losing poker. Now, the most successful poker players in the world also have patience. They're very patient people. Now, it may not look like it when you're watching TV with people being aggressive and bluffing and the new era of poker where people are pushing money around left and right, but don't be fooled. What they show you on TV is not what goes on during the entire tournament or during an entire session of cash game high stakes pokers. They only show certain hands. They don't show everything. They show the entertaining hands. The winning poker players and the most successful poker players in the world patiently pick their spots. So they pick spots to bluff. They pick spots to play hands aggressively. They don't do it every single hand. And then on the flip side, we have bad poker players and we have recreational poker players. They watch people do this on TV and they try to emulate them. They don't understand that there is this element of patience in poker where people are sitting for a long time just waiting for the right spot to play aggressive. They don't exhibit these qualities, and then the bad poker players just often lack patience and push money around and play in a lot of pots. And the third trait that we want to talk about on this slide is courageousness. So a successful poker player has to be very courageous. You not only have to be aggressive and patient, but you have to be courageous. You have to be courageous enough to make those really sick bluffs on your opponents. You have to be courageous to make those really thin hero calls. And it all just comes with the game. And you have to be courageous to actually put your money in the middle of the pot. So aggressive poker requires courageousness when we're semi-bluffing or making huge hero calls. So the first 3 traits before we jump to the next slide, again concluding, aggressiveness, patience, and courageousness. And then the last 2 are observant and a drive for greatness. So another thing that you'll notice with really good poker players is that they're very observant. If you look at Daniel Negreanu on TV, he always seems to have this uncanny ability to determine what his opponents have in a hand. And that's because he's an excellent hand reader, because he's very observant when he is watching other players play in a tournament. He doesn't chat with other opponents and not pay attention. Yes, he probably does chat with other opponents, but he's observing what's going on at the table. He's observing how his opponents play. He's observing all sorts of information and trying to absorb that information. And so he stores that in his memory banks, and then when he needs them, he's able to use them when he's playing in big hands. And a lot of people will say that he just has this really uncanny ability to call off people's hands. It's because he's observant, and he's also a very good hand reader. So good poker players will be observant at the poker table. They'll observe what's going on. Online players will be observant. They'll take notes on their opponents. They'll use their HUD and their HUD stats. People in the card room will get physical tells. They'll understand what people's tendencies are. Bad players don't. They don't pay attention. They look at their cards, they look at their hand, and they play it the way they want to play it. And then the last trait is a drive for greatness. And this is just in anything. I mean, successful people anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in business, or if you're in medicine, or if you're in law, or if you're a professional sports player, or you play poker. There has to be a drive for greatness. If there's no drive, there's no motivation, there's nothing pushing you to become the best that you can be, then you're not going to. You're going to be okay, mediocre, somewhere in between, somewhat good. You're not going to be great. So you have to understand that there's always this drive that's pushing the best poker players in the world. I had one student that just emailed and asked for one of my courses on Udemy. And he's taken all my other courses that were published in 2015. And when he started out at 4L, and he emailed me and he says he's all the way up to 200L. So he obviously has a drive for greatness. I mean, the fact that he made it within a year from the micro stakes to 200L is astounding by itself. And so he has a drive for greatness, something pushing him, some sort of passion to reach the next level in the higher stakes. And he's gotten there in a very, very quick manner. So I'm very proud of him for being able to do that. But getting back to the point is that you have to have this drive for greatness. And if you don't have it, if you're not trying to constantly improve yourself in your game, then you're just going to stall out. So those are the 5 traits that Phil Gordon talked about. And I believe he talked about them in his poker book, The Little Green Book. If you haven't read his books, I definitely recommend checking them out because he's a great author. He has great insights into the game, and he has just really good books. I recommend all of his poker books. So for any poker player, whether you've been playing for 20 years, you've been playing for 20 days, check out Phil Gordon's books, and also pay attention to his traits of successful poker players. Remember, aggressiveness, courageousness, patience, observant, and a drive for greatness.